And in another video we tend to do during this time of year, we're going to be going over a handful of players that have fallen short of expectations in drastic fashion. You could say that in each and every case featured here, each player's respective team has been patient. Whether it be multiple injuries or just a slump in play, these players have been given time to find redemption. However, it's pretty fair to hypothesize here that their time could be running out. In this video, we're going to be going over why these players' teams should be deciding to move on from them for good. And with that, here are 5 NHL players whose teams need to give up on them. After missing most of last season due to a core muscle surgery, Alexander Radulov made his return to play for the start of the 2021-2022 campaign. But unfortunately, Radulov hasn't been able to produce at the level he once was for the Stars since. And with just 4 goals and 71 games played last season, the previous 29-goal scorer has struggled to hit the net. However, that's not to say that he hasn't been trying. After 92 shot attempts, Radulov finished with a 4.3 shooting percentage, which is less than 1/4 of his percentage his rookie year and his worst yet. Progressively as well, his ice time decreased, which suggests that former head coach Rick Bowness noticed he was struggling to produce. Knowing that the Stars are due for a shakeup this offseason, it's hard not to wonder if they'll decide to move on from Radulov in the end. Currently a pending UFA, it's looking like it's highly probable that after 5 seasons with Dallas, Radulov won't be offered an extension this offseason. Drafted 7th overall in the 2015 NHL entry draft, Ivan Provorov showed much potential coming in. Since the days of Chris Pronger on the blue line were long gone, the Flyers were hoping that Provorov could be the next #1 guy on the back end. For a while, he proved to be effective at both ends of the ice and was a valuable piece for Philly when it came to special teams. Even though Provorov is and has been a certified blocking machine as a Flyer, the defenseman has struggled mightily his whole career with turnovers. Last season, for example, even though he did total 31 points in 79 games played, Provorov also had an egregious 84 giveaways as well. Stacking him up to his peers, he ranked 8th for having the most turnovers league-wide and 5th amongst all defensemen. To take it a step further career-wise, after 6 NHL seasons, he's had only 102 takeaways and 472 giveaways. That's easily a 1-to-4 ratio. Knowing that he has been logging around 24 minutes on the top pairing for Philly, if Chuck Fletcher really wants to shake things up, Provorov might just be the ideal piece to move. Since he's had several defensive partners and plenty of time to develop on the back end, if Provorov was theoretically traded, it would not only free up around $6.75 million extra to work with, but also would tighten things up. When the Ottawa Senators decided to sign Matt Murray to a 4-year, $25 million contract, they had the expectation that they would be receiving the same Murray that was in net during the back-to-back Cup wins for Pittsburgh. However, by the time the netminder joined the team, he appeared to be a shell of his former self. Murray, who seemed to peak early in his career in the Steel City, has never been able to return to the same form. Whether it be injuries, illness, or just bad luck, Murray had multiple circumstances come together last season that resulted in GM Pierre Dorion placing him on waivers mid-season last campaign. Looking at his stats recorded during his tenure with Ottawa, Murray has posted a below .900 save percentage and a 3.23 goals against average. Considering that he's also been on the injury reserve 7 different times as a Senator as well, these facts certainly don't help the goaltender's case. If Dorion does choose to move on from Murray, he already has Anton Forsberg that he could look to in net. Murray could either be traded or bought out. Trading the netminder, however, could prove to be tricky, as he does have a modified no-trade clause and would take 10 possible destinations off of the table of his choosing. For Oscar Klefbom and the Edmonton Oilers, things haven't worked out the way they would have hoped. After proving himself as one of the more reliable defenders on the back end, Klefbom was averaging around 25 minutes for his team and tallied 32 points in 64 games played for the 2019-2020 season. However, his playing career is now at a standstill, as Klefbom unfortunately has been dealt a bad hand. Following a devastating shoulder injury he received during the 2020-2021 season, the defenseman elected to have surgery in hopes that he would eventually return to the lineup for his team. However, Klefbom still wasn't able to suit up for the Oil last regular season either, due to the same lingering injury that still hasn't healed properly. With one final remaining year on his deal, Klefbom does have a modified no-trade clause as well, but it isn't as constricting as Matt Murray's. According to Cap Friendly, the defenseman would list 22 teams he would agree to be traded to. Even though it wouldn't be easy for Edmonton fans to witness such a promising previous talent apart from Alberta, if Holland was somehow able to trade the contract, it would free up over $4 million in space for next season, which would help make the prospect of an Evander Kane extension more realistic. When the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired Jason Zucker from Minnesota, the forwards seemed to fit in nicely within the top 6. After recording 12 points in 15 games played, after arriving in Pittsburgh post-deadline, Zucker seemed to fit in well with Coach Sullivan's speed-first style. Despite this though, upon entering the 2020-21 season, it quickly became apparent that Zucker wasn't the same player, as it seemed like every time Zucker was reinserted into the lineup, he was placed back on to injury reserve almost just as fast. So far, not counting postseason games, Zucker has only recorded 37 points since Jim Rutherford traded away a first-round pick in order to acquire him. Knowing that he does have a remaining season on his contract that has a cap hit of $5.5 million, it's possible that GM Ron Hextall will see Zucker this offseason as an expendable piece. Despite the fact that he does have a modified no-trade clause theoretically, the contract wouldn't be impossible to move, since Hextall is going to be likely exploring any logical avenue that will produce the cap space to sign Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin. If he can move the Zucker contract, it may just be the ideal solution in the end.